What is up, everyone? Renfail here, and we are back with another class guide for Star Wars: The Old Republic. This one at a request from our community members. After I did the smuggler guide, some folks said, hey, why don't you do the trooper and this one and that one? And I said, you know what? I'll just do them all so that everybody out there can get a glimpse into my style of game guides. And if you like my style, cool. Hopefully it'll provide some value to you. So today we're diving into the trooper. Now I've got my Republic Trooper Parsec here on Coruscant. Yeah, a little bit of a pew pew here. Now I am, with this particular build, I went with the mercenary combat style. So if you're playing this game for the first time, this won't matter to you, but if you're playing this game and you haven't been in Star Wars: The Old Republic for a while, you're gonna be like, what the heck? I didn't realize troopers could dual wield. I thought troopers only had to use like the tech cannon and all this other stuff. Well, since the Legacy of the Sith expansion, you're no longer locked into only playing one type of combat style, which means you can actually be any quote unquote class that you want to be these days, while sticking to the original Trooper storyline, which applies to the 1 to 50 content. It'll make more sense as we get deeper into this guide, so don't worry about it. But I did play this guy as a mercenary in terms of the combat style, and I chose Innovative Ordnance as the discipline for this character. Now, could have gone Arsenal, I could have gone Bodyguard, but I chose the Ordnance for Stammer over time. And these are the abilities I've chosen along the way. Now, in terms of how this class plays at the moment, it is primarily a DPS build. Now, you could play yours as a tank, a healer, whatever you want it to be. We're going to be diving into that as we get deeper into this guide. So that if that's the juicy stuff that you're waiting for, well, let's just get right into it. Let's go talk about character creation and how to choose your base class, and then the combat styles that are going to flesh it out from there, as well as the disciplines that further flesh out the combat styles. Now, if you played a trooper way back in the day, you might remember that there were only two options to choose from at the very beginning of the game. One was the commando, which was the trooper who was trained in advanced assault tactics and weaponry, charging into battle with a massive assault cannon, overwhelming their enemies with brute firepower. This was primarily a build that could either be played as a DPS build or a heal build. And then on the other side of that equation, you had the Vanguard, which was sort of the tank spec, which was a melee / assault rifle type build. But you either had the ability to do it as a DPS or a tank. Now, with the inclusion of the Legacy of the Sith expansion, they unlocked playstyles for all of the different types of character origins and so on and so forth. So when you create a trooper now, the only thing that matters to the trooper itself that is unique to the trooper is going to be the trooper storyline as it applies to the base game, which is known as the Old Republic. That game, which is the base game that launched years and years and years ago, has 8 different origin stories. On the good side, or on the Republic side, you have Jedi Knight, Jedi Consular, Smuggler, and Trooper. And on the Sith Empire side, you have the Inquisitor, the Juggernaut, I don't remember all of them, the Bounty Hunter, and the Agent. These days, you pick your origin story, which is your quote-unquote class, and then from there, you choose your style, which is how do you want to play your trooper. Now, you could choose the style. You could choose to have the style be considered class, but at the end of the day, it all boils down to the same thing. So once you're in character creation, you have your options of going, okay, I'm creating a trooper, that's the storyline. I can either go commando or I can go vanguard. Those are the two classic Republic trooper options, but you can also choose, like I did, to play as a mercenary. Now, the mercenary is what used to be only available to the bounty hunter on the Sith side, but this allows you to dual wield along with having heat-seeking missiles and heavy armor, giving you a really cool DPS build, which can also be spec'd as a healer. The Bodyguard is a heal spec, so if you want to get into that, that's down, not within the styles, but down within the disciplines. You can choose to respec that way. Power Tech is a blend of melee and tank build, but this is basically what it was the tank version of the bounty hunter back in the day. You get shielding, defensive tactics, high-powered flamethrowers. It says it makes you an impenetrable one-person blockade, getting up close and personal to take down enemies of all styles. But you can also choose to go here. And this is when I remember when they pitched the idea of what they were building with the Legacy of the Sith expansion and the new combat styles, was they said they specifically used the trooper as an example, and so you can now create your favorite trooper from the Clone Wars show, whether you want to be a dual wielding guy, up front and personal, a melee character, or a sniper as an example. So you could choose to create a sniper version of a trooper, which makes you one of the most elite sharpshooters in the galaxy. And this is it's a DPS build, pure and simple, but the type of sniper that you play depends on whether or not you choose virulence, engineering, or marksmanship. The operative, especially if you've been watching like the Bad Batch, this is that Rambo character, which we all love to love. But you've got this one is a blend of melee along with DPS, but it's a stealth build. So if you want to be like up front and close and personal with a knife as well as some blaster rifle stuff, you go this build, the operative style. Now this can also be spec'd as a healer, so keep that in mind if you want to get into playing backup for your friends in heal scenarios. The Gunslinger is another dual wielding option, but this one is spec'd towards being a DPS. You're not going to be tanking like you would be with the the mercenary build, who is all about being upfront and personal. This is all about the trick shots and firing 2 blasts once, especially in long range combat, but you're going to be back in the back. You're not going to want to be up front and personal. The Scoundrel is the other version. It used to be the other version of the Smuggler, but these days you can also play this, which has a heal spec known as the Sawbones, but you get a stealth belt, a scattergun, and a med pack. So essentially this one is a combination of melee and stealth, but you also get a blaster pistol. But it's essentially you're going to be up front and close with the blaster pistol and the shotgun, which requires you to be pretty close in combat, but you can also spec for heals. So that is the essential overview of the trooper and the various styles that you can pick when playing your trooper. And again, remember that the trooper storyline is really only applicable to the level 1 to 50 content, because everything from level 50 and beyond has been focused into single storylines for all of the expansions that everyone has access to. So the original base content of level 1 to 50, where you had your origin stories, that's only applicable if you're going to be creating a character from scratch. So if we were to go back to the character creation here real quick, and what do I mean by that? Well, if you create a new character from scratch, you have the option, as of this recording, to either choose an Old Republic character, which is level 1 to 50, or you can create a character that is a level 70 boosted character for Onslaught and Legacy of the Sith. And it's the same process if you do this. You go in here and you create a character, and it allows you to jump straight into the latest content and go from there if you've already played all the level 1 to 50 stuff a bunch of times. So just food for thought. Hey everyone, Renfail here with the commercial part of the video where I say, hey, if you like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. And thanks to all of our supporters here on YouTube and over on Patreon, our highest members, our guild champions, Crazy's Relative, Remy D here on YouTube. And don't forget, if you want to support, it's really easy. You can do the memberships below, the Adventurers Guild, 3 different tiers. There's also the super thanks on any uploaded video or YouTube short that you find. There's also, of course, the super chats and stickers that you could do on any live stream or premiere, and the Patreon page if you want to dive into the fantasy world that I have with my brother and my wife, which is a tabletop game, a point-and-click adventure game, and a fantasy book series. All are great ways to keep this channel going and me going full-time. Thanks again for those of you who support. Let's get back to the video that you're watching now. Now, something that is really important to a lot of people is they want to know more about the combat styles and disciplines. Now, all of the base information is listed in that character creation process, which allows you to dive into the base information around each of the combat styles and the various disciplines for each style that goes along with it. You have 3 disciplines for every combat style. So in the case of the mercenary, we have innovative ordnance, arsenal, and bodyguard. So when I'm in a safe place like a cantina, let's actually duck down to the... I think you can go down in here, if I'm not mistaken. This used to be like... I think there used to be a cantina down in here. I could be wrong. Oh, it says right there, cantina. So I'm not misremembering. Haven't been down here in years, though. So this counts as a cantina. When I run in here... Yep. Alright, I have entered a rest area, which means now I can open up this panel and go to the combat style, and I can now respec. And we're going to talk a little bit about this, because at the moment, because I'm in the innovative ordnance discipline for my mercenary build, on the right-hand side here, I have the abilities within my ability tree. Now, when you're leveling up your character, it used to be that you had to go to a trainer and individually pick these abilities. But these days, you get some base abilities given to you as you're leveling up to level 15. And then once you hit 15, you start to earn these combat style specific abilities. And then depending on how you are, which discipline you're choosing, these will change slightly from there as well. But you also have the option to go through here and sort of hand pick some of the options. So at level 23, as an example, you're going to pick one of these options. So eruptive flames versus incendiary ignition versus volatile cinders. And some of these are passives, some of these are actives. So it just depends on what you want to go for. But you can sort of continually define your character as you level up, and even though you might be playing the same combat style and discipline as someone else, the little things that you're going to do along the way, choosing your own personalized version of things as you get into these passives and actives that are selectable, you can further define who you are. But I want to show you what happens if we were to change disciplines here. You notice I've got these abilities on my hotbar. They look accordingly. If I change over to the arsenal build, it's gonna, change my loadout, and it says, "Do I want to continue?" Now, I haven't changed my, I haven't saved my loadout, so I actually might want to go in here and create a loadout and say loadout test as an example, and we would save that, right? And we would go back over to the combat style, and we would say, I want to change over to arsenal. Now, all of my abilities just changed out. Not all, but a handful of my abilities changed out on my hotbar because I just switched my spec. Now, if I were to do that again over to bodyguard, again, more abilities changed out on my hotbar. So this is something to pay attention to, but remember, you can save various loadouts here so that you can have a loadout for your ordnance, a loadout for your arsenal, a loadout for your bodyguard. Spec, so that you can quickly go in here and say, oh, I'm playing with friends today, I want to load loadout 1. Boom, I've loaded loadout 1, and it's got those abilities slotted where I want them for that particular build. It's a really cool functionality that didn't come into the game until recently because of the Legacy of the Sith expansion, if I can learn how to talk here. And it does allow you a greater amount of flexibility because you can create multiple loadouts to suit all the different needs that you might have when playing your character with friends, in a group, in a raid scenario, whatever you might. Also is that if you're a VIP subscriber, you can actually have an additional combat style. So you might have mercenary as your primary leveling spec, but then you might want to say have a gunslinger, so you'd pick that and have that as the secondary one. Or maybe you want to go with the vanguard or something. But you can put an additional combat style here. I didn't realize you could change the color on things. I'm looking at all that going, oh, that's cool. But you can change between these two at will, which ultimately could allow you to have 6 different loadouts all created here. Obviously, you can have more than that, but that would give you the ability to have 6 of those in total. You can also earn the ability to do field respecs if that matters to you. It's never mattered to me, so keep that in mind as you go through. But that's the quick and easy version of the combat styles, disciplines, and loadouts that you could save for your character to completely flesh your character out even more and have greater flexibility in how you play and when you play based on situational elements in the game. Alright, now because some of you need to see the trooper in action, we're going to give you a chance. We're going to come here to Nar Shaddaa. We're going to pick up one of these daily heroic missions. It doesn't matter which one we pick. We're going to fast travel to the location. And And we're going to show you, in this case, my trooper mercenary as he pew-pews his way through some combat. Now, again, some of this is going to depend on how you've got your companion. I have her currently set to be a tank, and we could choose different options for her if we wanted to, but let's start her off as a tank, and then you'll just see the different combat scenarios depending on how she's going to play with us. But you can do this with any of your companions. At the end of the day, remember that in this case, I've chosen to play this character as a DPS character, but I can handle some hits, so it's not that big of a deal if I start taking damage during combat. So we're going to start off over here, pew-pewing our way with this guy, send her in. We're going to blow that up. Have her go over to the other guy. We're going to finish this one off. All right. Hoo-yah. Now, what does it look like if I've got her spec'd DPS? It's a little riskier because we won't have anybody tanking and we won't have any DPS, or we won't have any heals. But let's just take a look at this and see what it's like. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at. We got the cooldown over here. Oh, guy trying to be brave. So as you can see, I took about half my health during that encounter, and that's because no one was tanking. So I can take some hits, but in between the encounters, I would need to go ahead and, charge up accordingly. What's it look like if she is doing heals as well? We can show you what that looks like. Let's do a group encounter here over here as opposed to just a single one. So as you can see, no matter how I've got her spec'd, it's not too much of a difficulty to come in here and handle these heroic ×2 encounters. And the game these days, is built in such a way that you can go in and play veteran mode with your friends. But if you're going to play story mode on the flashpoints, you've got a droid that comes in and helps you with it. So it really, at the end of the day, honestly, it kind of just is up to you. How do you want your trooper to play? And I think the example they gave during the Legacy of the Sith developer builds they were doing, where they said, hey, look at the Clone Wars as an example and all the different versions of the troopers there were. You now have the ability to go in there with the combat styles and literally create the trooper that you want, so it can play however you want it to play. That's something very important to keep in mind, because at the end of the day, it's all about what you want. And you're not forced to do any specific thing, whereas you used to be forced into doing specific playstyles. So food for thought. In any case, that is the end of this particular guide for the Republic Trooper. Hopefully you check out the other guides here on my channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. I'll see everybody in the next video. Stay safe, and may the Force be with you.